Thank you, Chanda. Yep, got Alex Eala with me here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Pinoy Power has come to Cincinnati.
Yes, it has. It has.
Obviously, you never want to see an opponent have to retire, but you were absolutely dominating this match before that. How would you assess your game today?
No, like you said, I think it's unfortunate that we weren't able to continue the match. And first and foremost, just wish Gabby a speedy recovery. Health is, I think, number one priority for everybody. So hope she gets better soon. And I think I played really well.
Alex Eala has done it again, but this time the ending came in a way nobody wanted to see. At the 2026 Cincinnati Open, Eala was already in complete control against Elena-Gabriela Ruse when the match suddenly stopped. The final result, Alex Eala advances after Ruse retired with Eala leading 6-1. 3-0, it was not the kind of finish a player wants, because Ruse was forced to stop because of an injury, but for Eala, the victory keeps an important hard-court run alive, and the timing could not be more significant. Just days after reaching the round of 16 at the National Bank Open in Toronto, and only weeks after winning her first WTA Tour title in Washington, Eala is continuing to prove that her breakthrough is not a one-tournament story. She is now into the third round of another WTA 1000 event, and waiting for her is a huge challenge, Amanda Anisimova. This was supposed to be another test of whether Alex Eala could maintain the incredible momentum she has built during the North American hardcourt swing. Instead, the match became a combination of Eala's dominant start, difficult weather conditions, and an unfortunate injury situation for Ruse. Eala entered Cincinnati as the number 17 seed, a remarkable position that shows just how far her ranking and reputation have climbed. The Cincinnati Open is a WTA 1000 tournament played on outdoor hard courts, with a 96-player singles draw and a total women's prize commitment of more than $7 million. For Eala, this was not simply another match on the calendar. It was another opportunity to establish herself among the players who are now expected to make deep runs at the biggest tournaments outside the Grand Slams, and the opponent made this particularly interesting because Elena-Gabriela Ruse was not an unfamiliar name for Eala. The two had met before, most famously in the 2024 US Open qualifying final, when Ruse came back to defeat Eala in 3 sets. That match was an important early career lesson for Eala because she had won the opening set before Ruse turned the match around. 2 years later, the situation was dramatically different. Eala arrived in Cincinnati as a WTA 1000 seed and one of the most talked about young players on the tour, while Ruse was attempting to stop a player who had already established herself as a serious threat on hard courts. From the opening games, however, Eala made it clear that she was not interested in allowing this match to become another long battle. She immediately put pressure on Ruse's service games and began controlling the exchanges with the kind of clean, aggressive baseline tennis that has become one of the defining parts of her game. Eala does not need to overpower every opponent with one enormous shot. Her effectiveness often comes from changing direction, using depth, moving the opponent, and then choosing the right moment to attack. That approach was particularly effective here because Ruse struggled to find a rhythm against Eala's consistency and pressure. The first set quickly moved in Eala's direction. She established a lead and continued to extend it instead of allowing Ruse back into the contest. The scoreboard tells the story clearly. Eala took the opening set 6-1. That score is significant because it shows just how little room Eala gave her opponent during the first phase of the match. This was not a situation where Eala escaped from several dangerous games and barely survived. She created separation early and maintained it. One of the most encouraging aspects of the performance was Eala's ability to maintain her focus after such a fast start. This is important because young players can sometimes become too passive after taking control of a match. They start protecting the lead instead of continuing to play the tennis that created it. Eala did the opposite. She carried the momentum into the second set and immediately moved further ahead. By the time play was interrupted, she had built a 3-0 advantage in the second set. That means that when the match stopped, Eala had won 9 of the previous 10 games. Think about that for a moment. Against a WTA level opponent, Eala had turned the match into a one-sided contest before the injury interruption. The first set was 6-1, and she opened the second with another 3 games. That is the clearest evidence available from the actual scoreline that Eala was playing with confidence and control. Then came the weather. A lightning and thunderstorm warning interrupted the match, and the players were taken off court. At that point, Eala was serving while leading 3-0 in the second set. The interruption created an unusual situation because the match had already been heavily tilted toward Eala, but nobody knew whether play would resume normally or whether Ruse would be able to continue. Eventually, Ruse was unable to continue and retired from the match because of an injury involving her foot or ankle. The retirement meant Eala was officially awarded the victory and advanced to the third round. It is important to be precise here. Eala did not win a completed 2-set match. The official result was a retirement with Eala leading 6-1, 3-0. That distinction matters when discussing the statistics and evaluating the performance. Because the match ended before completion, a complete conventional match statistics profile is not available in the verified reports I could confirm at the time of this script. That means we should not invent numbers for aces, total winners, unforced errors, breakpoint conversion, or match duration. The confirmed statistics are the score at retirement 6-1, 3-0, and the fact that Eala advanced because Ruse retired. Any video claiming a precise completed match total for winners, unforced errors, or a conventional final match duration should be treated carefully unless those numbers come directly from the official tournament or WTA match record. For a post-match analysis, accuracy matters more than filling every statistic box with a number that cannot be verified. What we can say with confidence is that Eala's performance was statistically dominant in the most important category of all, games won. She won 9 of the 10 games played before the retirement. She lost only 1 game across the opening set and the first 3 games of the second. That level of scoreboard control is exactly what you want to see from a player trying to establish herself as a consistent WTA 1000 threat. There is another important layer to this result. Eala was coming into Cincinnati after an exhausting stretch of tennis. She had just played the National Bank Open in Toronto, where she reached the round of 16 before losing to Belinda Bencic 6-4. 6-0, that ended a 7-match winning streak that had started with her title run at the Mubadala DC Open, so Eala entered Cincinnati carrying both momentum and accumulated physical demands. That Washington title was a major turning point in her 2026 season. Eala defeated Jessica Pegula in the final to win her first WTA Tour title and first WTA 500 championship. Instead of simply enjoying the breakthrough and waiting for the next major tournament, she immediately entered another demanding part of the schedule. Then came Toronto, where she won multiple matches and reached the round of 16. Now Cincinnati has begun with another victory. That sequence tells us something important about her development. Eala is learning how to perform when expectations are no longer low. Earlier in her career, an upset victory could be treated as a surprise. Now the question is different. Can she back it up? Can she win again the following week? Can she handle being seeded? Can she deal with fans expecting her to win? Can she recover physically and mentally between tournaments? Those are the challenges that separate a promising player from a player capable of remaining near the top of the WTA rankings. The Cincinnati result is therefore valuable even though it ended through retirement. Eala needed a positive start after Toronto, and she got exactly that. She avoided another long 3-set battle, which could be especially useful after the workload of the past few weeks. From a physical perspective, the short match is almost certainly easier on Eala than another 2.5-hour battle would have been. That could become important when she faces a much tougher opponent in the next round, and that opponent is Amanda Anisimova. This is where the story gets much more interesting. Anisimova is one of the most dangerous hardcourt players in the women's game, and she is not an opponent Eala can expect to overwhelm simply by playing patiently from the baseline. Anisimova has elite ball striking ability, particularly when she gets comfortable early in rallies. Her ability to take the ball early and redirect pace can put opponents under enormous pressure. Eala will need to find the right balance between defense and attack because giving Anisimova too many short balls could be extremely dangerous. At the same time, Eala has already demonstrated that she can challenge the highest level of the WTA. Her 2026 season includes victories over major names. And her Wimbledon run was particularly important because she defeated defending champion Iga Swiatek before reaching the 4th round. Swiatek's 2026 Wimbledon loss to Eala was described by the WTA as an erratic performance in which the former world number 1 committed 44 unforced errors, but the significance for Eala was much bigger than one opponent's mistakes. Eala showed she could stay composed on a major stage and exploit opportunities against one of the best players in the world. That is why the upcoming Anisimova match should be fascinating. It will not simply be about rankings. It will be about contrasting styles and contrasting stages of development. Eala has the movement, variation, left-handed angles, and growing confidence. Anisimova has the explosive power and ability to finish points quickly. Whoever controls the middle of the court could control the match. Eala's biggest strength going into that contest may actually be her confidence. Confidence in tennis is not just believing you can win. It is the ability to play your normal game when the opponent starts hitting harder, when the score becomes uncomfortable, and when the crowd becomes loud. Eala has spent much of 2026 learning that lesson. Her Washington title required her to beat top-level opposition. Her Toronto run required her to survive a difficult 3-set match against Katie McNally. In that match, Eala defeated McNally 6-3, 5-7, 6-4, despite dealing with a physical issue after a fall and losing the opportunity to serve out the match at 5-4 in the second set. She still recovered to win the decider. That ability to recover is one of the most encouraging parts of her development. The old question surrounding Eala was whether she could maintain her level when a match stopped going according to plan. The current version of Eala has more answers. She has now experienced wins against elite opponents, tough losses, deep tournament runs, physical challenges, huge crowds, and the pressure that comes with being a seed. Every one of those experiences adds another layer to her professional development. The Toronto crowd also showed just how much Eala's profile has grown. Her matches have become major attractions, with large groups of Filipino supporters attending and creating an atmosphere that has become part of the story surrounding her tournaments. Before her National Bank Open opener, Sportsnet reported that her first match had sold out, reflecting the enormous interest surrounding her appearance. Tournament director Carl Hale later described the impact of Eala Mania on the event as unprecedented. Cincinnati has now shown that the phenomenon is not limited to Canada. Fans were still heavily invested in Eala's match, and social media reactions following the retirement were immediate. Many supporters celebrated the victory while also expressing concern for Ruse's injury and hoping she would recover quickly. That is the appropriate response to a retirement victory. Celebrate the advancement, but recognize that nobody wants an opponent's tournament to end because of injury. For Eala, the next objective is simple: prepare for Anisimova. There is no reason to overstate this Cincinnati result. Eala did not have to finish the match. She did not have to close out a difficult second set. She did not have to survive a comeback. Those things did not happen, but there is also no reason to minimize what she accomplished. Eala had already built a commanding lead before the retirement. She was 1 set and 3 games into the match, leading 6-1, 3-0. The performance was dominant enough that the injury retirement was the only thing that prevented the match from reaching its natural conclusion. The key tactical question for Eala against Anisimova will be whether she can prevent the American from dictating with her first 2 or 3 shots of the rally. Eala has become extremely effective when she can move an opponent laterally and create space. But against a player who can strike cleanly from inside the baseline, simply getting the ball back may not be enough. Eala will need depth, variety, and especially the ability to change direction without giving Anisimova an easy target. Her serve will also be important. Eala's serve does not have to produce a huge number of aces to be effective. Its value comes from placement, disguise, and what it allows her to do with the next shot. Against Anisimova, free points would obviously help, but even more important will be avoiding too many second serve situations where Anisimova can step forward and attack. Return games could become another major battleground. If Eala can consistently make Anisimova play extra balls on her service games, she can turn the match into a physical and mental contest. That is where Eala's movement and consistency can become major weapons. But if Anisimova is allowed to dictate immediately, Eala may find herself defending instead of creating. The mental side could be just as important as the technical side. Eala has now become a player opponents prepare for. That is a different world from being the young player nobody expects to beat the favorite. When Eala defeated Swiatek at Wimbledon, there was an element of surprise. When she won Washington, the story became a breakthrough. When she reached the round of 16 in Toronto and became a seeded player in Cincinnati, expectations changed again. Now people expect Alex Eala to win. That pressure can be difficult, but it can also be evidence of progress. The goal for Eala is not to eliminate pressure. There is no such thing at this level. The goal is to learn how to compete with it. And that is why the Cincinnati Open could become another important chapter in her 2026 season. The immediate financial impact is also meaningful. At the 2026 Cincinnati Open, the WTA's published prize money structure lists $26,255 for reaching the second round and $47,375 for reaching the third round, with 65 ranking points awarded at that stage. Because Eala has now advanced into the third round, she has secured the third round allocation. The tournament winner, by comparison, earns 1,000 ranking points and more than $1 million. The ranking implications are also important, although it is better to describe them conservatively until the next official rankings update. Eala's number 17 seeding in Cincinnati demonstrates that she has climbed into a completely different tier of the WTA hierarchy. This is no longer a player trying simply to break into the top 50. She is now competing as a seed at a WTA 1000 tournament and trying to establish herself among the world's elite. And remember where this journey has gone in a relatively short period of time. Eala became the first Filipina to break into the WTA Top 100 and later the Top 50. In 2025, she became the first Filipina to reach the Top 20, according to the WTA's year-end rankings review. Her 2026 season has continued that upward trajectory, with her first WTA title in Washington and major victories on the grass and hard courts. There is still a lot of tennis left in 2026. The US Open is approaching, and that tournament may be the biggest test of all. The hard court season is giving Eala exactly the kind of preparation she needs. Washington gave her the experience of winning a WTA title. Toronto gave her the experience of playing under enormous attention. Cincinnati is now giving her another WTA 1000 opportunity. Each tournament is adding something different to her development. And if she can get past Anisimova, the possibilities become even more interesting. A deep Cincinnati run could give Eala another significant collection of ranking points and prize money while strengthening her position among the top players heading into New York. More importantly, another win over a dangerous opponent would reinforce the idea that Eala belongs in these rounds. But even before that match happens, there is something worth appreciating about today's result. Alex Eala did what a top player is supposed to do against an opponent in trouble. She took control of the match, stayed focused, and advanced when the opportunity came. She did not celebrate an opponent's injury. She did not manufacture drama around the retirement. She simply moved forward. That is professional tennis. The result will always carry an asterisk in the sense that it was a retirement rather than a completed match. But a retirement does not erase the tennis that came before it. Eala had already put herself in an excellent position by winning the first set 6-1 and opening a 3-0 lead in the second. The numbers are simple, but they are powerful. 9 games won out of 10, one set won 6-1, 3 games won to start the second, and a place in the Cincinnati third round. Now comes the real test, Amanda Anisimova. That match will tell us much more about where Eala currently stands. Against Ruse, Eala controlled the scoreboard almost from the beginning. Against Anisimova, she will likely face much more resistance. The American can attack with tremendous pace, and she has the experience of competing on the biggest stages. Eala will need to use everything she has learned during this remarkable summer. She will need patience when the ball is coming back fast. She will need courage when Anisimova attacks. She will need discipline on the big points. She will need to trust her movement, her left-handed patterns, and her ability to change the direction of rallies. And perhaps most importantly, she will need to remember that she has already beaten players of this caliber. This is no longer a fantasy matchup for Alex Eala. This is where she belongs. The most exciting part is that Eala still appears to be developing. Her ranking has climbed, but her game is not finished. Her biggest victories are still teaching her how to manage expectations. Her toughest defeats are teaching her where she needs to improve. Her physical workload is teaching her how demanding a full WTA schedule can be.